Content warning. This episode deals with the judicial and criminal case involving sensitive subject matter. Listener discretion is advised for those under 18. Greetings and welcome to all our dear listeners. Welcome to the second episode of the documentary series, The Epstein Files: Roots of a Nightmare. In the previous episode, we began our journey from Brooklyn in the 1950s, passed through Dalton School and Wall Street, and arrived at the $77 million mansion and the first complaints in the 1990s. Today, we want to go to the dark heart of this story. Epstein's network of connections. Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and most importantly, Ghislaine Maxwell. The woman without whom, perhaps, none of this would have been possible. Let's start with a question. Why was Epstein so powerful? He had money, but money alone is not enough. What distinguished Epstein from an ordinary billionaire was his access to the most powerful people in the world. And the key to this access was one woman, Ghislaine Maxwell. Chapter 1. Ghislaine Maxwell. From aristocracy to complicity in crime. Ghislaine Noël Marion Maxwell was born in 1961 in the Île-de-France region of France. She was the youngest daughter of Robert Maxwell, the British media mogul who had built a vast empire of newspapers and publishing houses. Her father, a Czech-born Jew, had fled the Nazis and taken refuge in Britain, where he amassed a legendary fortune. The Maxwell family lived in a 53-room mansion in Oxfordshire. Her father had named his yacht after her. Ghislaine grew up surrounded by wealth and power, and from childhood, she gained entry to the circles of the British elite. Her father loved her dearly, and this close relationship continued until the end of his life. In her youth, Ghislaine became a prominent figure in British society. She founded a women's organization focused on politics and culture, worked for the European magazine published by her father, and even managed the Oxford United Football Club. In 1991, her father sent her to New York to integrate into his vast media empire. That same year, Robert Maxwell purchased the New York Daily News, further solidifying Ghislaine's position. An acquaintance once said in an interview, Ghislaine was a very attractive woman. She was about 178 centimeters tall, drew a lot of attention, and had a very chic and appealing British accent. But in November of that same year, everything collapsed. Her father died in a boating accident on his yacht near the Canary Islands, a death that still remains shrouded in mystery. Immediately after his death, it was discovered that £460 million had disappeared from his company's pension funds. Ghislaine faced financial and social ruin and found herself in a small, unsuitable apartment. It was in these circumstances that a new acquaintance, a businessman named Jeffrey Epstein, came to her aid. Ghislaine Maxwell's meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in the early 1990s changed both their destinies forever. Initially, their relationship was romantic. Maxwell became Epstein's romantic partner and later transformed into his closest associate. At that time, Epstein was a mysterious financier who introduced himself as a financial advisor to the wealthy. But what he really wanted was access to the network of the world's powerful people. And Maxwell was exactly what he needed. Maxwell's elite social connections opened doors for Epstein that he could never have accessed on his own. Federal prosecutors later proved that Maxwell became a central figure in Epstein's network of sexual abuse and trafficking. She helped recruit underage girls, prepared them, and delivered them to Epstein for abuse. By 1992, she was effectively managing Epstein's properties for these dark activities. Court evidence shows that Maxwell was more than just a simple accomplice. She was the mastermind behind the scenes in recruiting and grooming victims. From 1999 to 2007, Epstein deposited over $30 million into Maxwell's accounts, indicating the depth of their financial and operational relationship. How did Maxwell recruit the girls? She went to places where vulnerable teenagers were present. Schools, recreational centers, summer camps. With promises of jobs, travel opportunities, and a bright future, she gained their trust. Later in court, victims testified that Maxwell took them shopping, paid for their education and travel, and inserted herself into their personal lives. According to U.S. Department of Justice documents, by being a present adult woman who validated Epstein's behavior, she made the victims feel safe. Evidence showed that Maxwell discussed sexual topics with the girls and undressed in front of them to normalize the situation and make it easier. It was also revealed that Maxwell forced underage girls to travel to Epstein's homes in different states, fully knowing they would be sexually abused. Prosecutors said she was present during sexual massages involving minors and sometimes participated in them. Young women received hundreds of dollars in cash to recruit other girls for this sex offender. Epstein called Maxwell his best friend. And why wouldn't he? It was Maxwell's social connections that gave Epstein access to the highest levels of power. She introduced him to figures like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Prince Andrew. Chapter 2: Prince Andrew, From Royal Friendship to Scandal. Among all the names linked to the Epstein case, perhaps none have fallen as far as Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. The prince, who was Queen Elizabeth's second son, has now become a symbol of scandal and the decay of the British aristocracy. The relationship between Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell went beyond simple friendship. In newly released documents from February 2026, romantic emails between the two have been revealed, unveiling the depth of their relationship. In 2002, Andrew signed a letter with the letter A and asked Maxwell for permission to spend the holidays with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson and their two daughters, Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice. He wrote, "With the planning for the weekend becoming more complicated, I think it would be better for me to join Sarah and the girls in Soto Grande for a few days, which will be very important and good for the girls, rather than going abroad." Andrew added, "Please, do you approve of me doing this? I am aware of the better offer, but in this case, I don't think it's possible." Maxwell replied, "Dear Andrew, I completely understand if you want to spend time with Sarah and the girls. I'm not upset at all, but I am upset not to spend time with you and not see you. I miss you. I love you very much." The next day she wrote again, "Apparently the 5 red-headed beauties have to play by themselves." Andrew responded, "I'm very sorry not to have joined you, but I'm glad to spend a little more time with my girls. Anyway, I love you and I miss you. Looking forward to seeing you before you go somewhere exotic." On October 28th, Maxwell emailed Andrew again, asking about rumors that he planned to have more children. She wrote, "I'm in Los Angeles, on my way to Hawaii. Is it true you want to have more children? I have to think of you as super sperm." Andrew replied, "No, I'm not going to have more children. Don't believe everything you read in the newspapers." Sarah said she would like to have another child if she could, and if she's too old, she'll adopt. Andrew Loney, a historian and author, said in an interview, they were in love. They loved each other. They had known each other for years. Ghislaine was Epstein's right hand and was very close to Andrew. Along with Epstein, she supplied girls for Andrew. Paul Page, a former royal protection officer, repeatedly indicated that Andrew and Maxwell's relationship was more than friendship. He said, "I first met her in 2001. From the way she came and went from the palace, we understood and suspected she might be having a romantic relationship with Andrew. One of my colleagues remembers her entering the palace 4 times in one day." But beyond the romantic relationship, more serious allegations have been made against Prince Andrew. Virginia Giuffre, one of the victims, testified that in 2001, when she was 17 years old, Andrew touched her breast at Epstein's apartment in Manhattan. In her testimony, Giuffre said that Andrew placed his hand on her breast so they could pose for a photo with her and a doll that had Prince Andrew written on it. In 2022, Prince Andrew paid millions of dollars to Virginia Giuffre to settle the case she had brought against him, alleging she was sexually abused by him at the age of 17. This out-of-court settlement was made without admission of liability. Andrew has always denied these allegations, but the latest revelations have uncovered new dimensions of Andrew's relationship with Epstein. According to documents seen by the BBC, Andrew sent a confidential British government briefing about investment opportunities in Afghanistan to Epstein. This briefing was prepared by British officials for Andrew during his tenure as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment. The document outlined high-value business opportunities in Helmand Province, including deposits of gold, uranium, and other minerals. In an email from December 2010 accompanying the document, Andrew described it as a confidential briefing produced by the Provincial Reconstruction Team in Helmand Province. The document was prepared the same month Andrew visited Helmand, where British forces were stationed as part of Britain's military and reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. The document assessed the local economy and highlighted mineral deposits of significant value, including marble, iridium, thorium, and potential oil and gas deposits, pointing to the potential for low-cost extraction. According to official guidelines, trade envoys are required to maintain confidentiality regarding sensitive commercial and political information obtained during official visits. The emails seen by the BBC suggest Andrew may have also sent Epstein official reports from trade visits to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Vietnam, as well as additional files labeled overseas tenders, which were likely compressed files that could have contained more material. Thames Valley Police has confirmed it is investigating claims that Andrew shared confidential documents with Epstein. In February 2026, American lawmakers called for Andrew to testify about his connections to Epstein. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna told the BBC that the royal family has not been transparent. Democratic Representative Teresa Leger Fernandez said that King Charles III should guide his brother to go to America and answer questions. She argued, "You can't say I'm protected because I'm no longer in the jurisdiction of the United States, so I can't be held accountable." Andrew cannot be forced to go to America by subpoena, which has caused much frustration. Last autumn, Democrats in Congress set a November deadline for Andrew to testify about what he knows about Epstein, but he did not respond. Sky Roberts, Virginia Giuffre's brother, also increased the pressure, telling reporters, "I think he should appear before our Congress and answer questions." Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer also agreed with this view. Thames Valley Police announced it was investigating a complaint from the Republic group about Andrew's alleged sharing of confidential information with Epstein. Andrew stepped back from royal duties in 2019 after his connection to Epstein became public. He also relinquished his other royal titles amid increasing allegations about his relationship with Epstein. Chapter 3: Bill Clinton, Flights, Emails, and the Controversial Statement. Bill Clinton, the 42nd President of the United States, is another prominent figure whose name appears repeatedly in the Epstein case documents. According to CNN analysis, Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet at least 16 times in the early 2000s. These flights included domestic and international trips to destinations like Hong Kong, Singapore, Beijing, and London, often with Epstein and Maxwell accompanying him. In 2019, the year Epstein was charged in New York with sex trafficking, Clinton confirmed that he had flown on Epstein's plane several times in the early 2000s, but denied ever visiting Epstein's island. However, there are contradictions on this matter. James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, told Newsmax in August, "The American people want to know what happened on Epstein's island. We know that Bill Clinton went there many times. We just want to ask him what he saw when he was there and who was involved." Donald Trump also posted on Truth Social in November that Clinton spent a large part of his life with Epstein and on his island. But Epstein himself, in an email that was part of thousands of documents released by the committee in November 2025, said that Clinton never went to his island. Epstein wrote, "Clinton was never there, never." Virginia Giuffre, now deceased, had said she saw Clinton on the island, but never witnessed him doing anything illegal. The latest release of Epstein documents by the Justice Department in January 2026 shows frequent communications between Maxwell and Clinton's staff between 2001 and 2004. The names of Clinton's staff are often redacted in the emails. Only WGC is shown in the sender or recipient line, which appears to refer to the office of William J. Clinton post-presidency. Clinton's spokesperson, Angel Urania, told CNN that Bill Clinton did not send any of the emails in the Epstein files. Urania said, "I can't confirm whose they were, I can only tell you whose they weren't, Bill Clinton's." He also said that Clinton had no email and did not share email with anyone or have an address with anyone, and noted that Clinton had only sent 2 emails in his entire life, one to former astronaut John Glenn while he was in Earth orbit, and one to American forces in the Adriatic. Much of the correspondence between Maxwell and Clinton's staff reviewed by CNN related to travel and meal logistics, and sometimes last-minute invitations for the former president himself. It is unclear whether these communications were related to foundation business or personal dealings involving Clinton or his staff. In an April 2003 email, Maxwell wrote to a redacted Clinton office email address, "Glad you're coming to dinner." Jay asks, "Do you think Clinton would like to come? Let me know." In another email from December 2001, a Clinton staff member asked Maxwell for Prince Andrew's phone number to coordinate a round of golf during Bill Clinton's trip to Scotland. Maxwell replied, "Just spoke to Andrew. He's not in Scotland at the moment, but he's going. He says if I give him a number he'll call Clinton." Doug, do you want him to call you? It is unclear who Doug refers to, but one of Clinton's senior advisors at the time was Doug Band. Maxwell sometimes flirted in her emails to redacted Clinton office email addresses. In one exchange, Maxwell wrote to a Clinton staff member that she had told a journalist, "What a wonderful lover you are, and how I fancy you, and how your penis is like a horse's. Well, you get the picture. Hope you are not offended." In another exchange in 2002, a redacted sender from a Clinton email address wrote to Maxwell, Went home with someone I was with before, a 40-year-old blonde widow with big breasts, if you can believe it. I really must stop drinking. Nearly a decade later, after Maxwell was accused in 2009 of recruiting and sexually abusing girls with Epstein, she was still welcomed in Clinton circles. As previously reported, Maxwell was a guest at the prestigious Clinton Global Initiative Conference in September 2013. Maxwell was honored for her Terramar project, an ocean conservation nonprofit she founded in 2012 that did more to rehabilitate her reputation than the ocean floor. Clinton has consistently denied any wrongdoing. Clinton's spokesperson has repeatedly emphasized that he was unaware of Epstein's crimes and cut ties with him before Epstein was charged with soliciting prostitution in 2006. But that's not the end of the story. The Republican-led House of Representatives is expected this week to hold both Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for failing to testify in the bipartisan investigation into Epstein. House Oversight Committee Republicans and even some Democrats voted in committee last month to hold the former president and former Secretary of State in contempt. The Clintons' lawyers have repeatedly insisted that they are being unfairly targeted and have called the committee's subpoenas for their testimony invalid and unenforceable. Chapter 4. The First Victims Who Dared to Speak. Among all the documents and evidence, the most important voices belong to the victims. Women who remained silent for years, but finally their voices were raised. Virginia Giuffre was one of the most important victims who dared to come forward. In 2015, she sued Ghislaine Maxwell, accusing her of introducing her to Epstein in 1999 when she was just 16 years old and working as a spa attendant at a resort in Florida, with promises of a job and travel opportunities. Giuffre said Maxwell quickly drew her into Epstein's predatory orbit. Maxwell denied the allegations, and the case was settled in 2017 with a confidential out-of-court agreement. According to reports, Maxwell paid Giuffre millions of dollars, although the exact amount was never disclosed. Sadly, Virginia Giuffre passed away in April 2025. Her posthumous memoirs contain several specific allegations related to Andrew. Johanna Sjoberg is another victim who provided important testimony in the case. She testified about being touched by Prince Andrew at Epstein's Manhattan apartment. Sjoberg also testified that Epstein once told her that Clinton likes them young. Kate, a pseudonym, was 17 years old when she fell into Epstein and Maxwell's trap in 1994. She testified that she first met Maxwell at her home for tea and cookies through a 35-year-old man she was dating. A few weeks later, she returned to Maxwell's home, where Epstein was present, and at Maxwell's request, gave him a foot massage. A few weeks later, Kate was again asked to give Epstein a massage. When the prosecutor asked if she was a trained masseuse, Kate said no. In her testimony, she said, "Ghislaine led me to the massage room and Epstein was there with a bathrobe. When he took it off, he was completely naked. Ghislaine brought me massage oil and closed the door, and Epstein had sex with me." Afterward, Maxwell told her, "He really enjoyed it. You're a very good girl. I'm glad you could come. He seems very satisfied, and I'm very happy that he's satisfied." After turning 18, Kate visited Maxwell and Epstein at his Palm Beach estate, where they had sex in the pool. She said, "Ghislaine told me I was very good and that I was one of Jeffrey's favorite girls." Kate also described an incident in the mid-1990s where Maxwell dressed her in schoolgirl clothes to wear for Epstein. Maxwell told her, I thought it would be fun if you dressed like this and brought Jeffrey tea." After that meeting, Kate said, Ghislaine asked if I enjoyed it and repeated again that I was a very good girl. Kate said she remained in contact with Maxwell until age 24 and with Epstein until age 30. She concluded by saying, "I hoped Ghislaine was really my friend, but she didn't validate what was happening to me." Jane, a pseudonym, was 14 years old when Maxwell introduced her to Epstein in 1994 while she was eating ice cream at a summer arts camp in Michigan. She testified that Maxwell was sometimes present in the room during the sexual abuse she endured for years. Crying, she said, "She seemed so normal, like it was natural." But none of this was natural. Jane continued tearfully, "I flew to New Mexico to meet Maxwell, who said Epstein wanted to see me. I felt my heart sink. I didn't want to see him. I was frozen with fear." For women testified at Maxwell's trial, stating that as teenagers from 1994 to 2004, they were sexually abused at Epstein's Upper East Side mansion, his Palm Beach estate, his New Mexico ranch, as well as Maxwell's London townhouse and other luxury properties. Chapter 5. Other prominent figures in the documents. The released documents have also revealed the names of other prominent individuals. Johanna Sjoberg said she met Michael Jackson and David Copperfield through Epstein, although she reported no wrongdoing by them. Sjoberg said Copperfield asked her if she knew that girls were getting paid to find other girls. Jean-Luc Brunel, the French modeling agent who died by suicide in a Paris prison in 2022 while awaiting trial on rape charges, is mentioned repeatedly in the documents. Stephen Hawking, the late physicist, is also mentioned in the documents. In an email, Epstein attempted to refute Virginia Giuffre's allegations that Hawking had participated in an orgy with minors on Epstein's Island. Donald Trump, the former president's name, also appears in the documents, but not as an accused wrongdoer. In Maxwell's July 2025 interview with the Justice Department, she said she never saw Trump in any inappropriate situation of any kind. The current President Trump seemed friendly with Epstein, but she only recalled seeing the two together in social situations, not private situations. Maxwell also said she didn't remember whether Trump sent a note for Epstein's 50th birthday album. Trump has previously denied ever visiting Epstein's Island and told reporters in July 2025, "I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I turned it down, but many people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island." The House Oversight Committee released thousands of pages of documents from Epstein's properties in November 2025. House Democrats began the day by pointing to emails from Epstein in which he claims Trump knew about the girls, and another saying Trump spent hours with one of the victims. The White House denied these claims. Ehud Barak, the former Prime Minister of Israel, whose name appeared in the released emails and was forced to resign from his positions after these emails were published. Chapter 6. The Trial and Current Status. In July 2020, the U.S. Justice Department indicted Maxwell in federal court in Manhattan for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein and sexually abusing minors. Maxwell was convicted in December 2021 after a month-long trial. A federal jury found her guilty on 5 counts, including conspiracy to transport minors, transporting a minor, and sex trafficking. In June 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison and a $750,000 fine. The presiding judge described her behavior as evil and predatory. Maxwell appealed her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that she was protected by Epstein's 2007 non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors in Florida. But the Supreme Court rejected her appeal in October 2025. In July 2025, Maxwell had an interview session with Todd Blanche, the Deputy U.S. Attorney General. Blanche had previously been Trump's personal attorney. During this interview, Maxwell insisted that she had never witnessed inappropriate behavior by Trump, Clinton, or Prince Andrew. At the beginning of this two-day meeting, Blanche informed Maxwell that this interview was not part of a cooperation agreement and that by meeting with you today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. Shortly after this interview, Maxwell was transferred from a Florida prison to a new minimum security facility in Texas. This facility is called FPC Bryan and is located about 160 kilometers from Austin, the capital of Texas. About 650 female inmates are held at this center. On February 9, 2026, Maxwell appeared before the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform in a confidential video session. Despite intense public and legislative pressure, she invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and refused to answer substantive questions about her role or knowledge of Epstein's co-conspirators and network. Maxwell's attorney informed the committee in a letter that she is willing to speak fully and honestly if granted a pardon by President Donald Trump. The attorney emphasized that neither Trump nor Bill Clinton committed any wrongdoing, but only Maxwell can explain the reasons why. Democratic lawmakers, including James Walkinshaw, said Maxwell is seeking a pardon from Trump. He said, "President Trump could end this today. He could deny the pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, this monster. The question for all of us today is, why hasn't he done it? And why won't he do it?" Summary and analysis. Well, let's review what we learned in this episode. 1. Ghislaine Maxwell was the daughter of a media mogul who faced financial ruin after her father's death and the disappearance of the family fortune. 2. Epstein came to her aid, and Maxwell gradually became his main accomplice. From 1999 to 2007, Epstein deposited over $30 million into Maxwell's accounts. 3. Maxwell played a key role in recruiting teenage girls, grooming them, and delivering them to Epstein. 4 women testified in court. 4. A romantic relationship existed between Maxwell and Prince Andrew, confirmed by the revealed emails. 5. Andrew is accused of sexually abusing a 17-year-old girl and paid millions of dollars in settlement to Virginia Giuffre. Documents also show he shared confidential government information with Epstein. 6. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane at least 16 times, and lewd emails were exchanged between his staff and Maxwell. Clinton denies all allegations. 7. Numerous victims, including Virginia Giuffre, Johanna Sjoberg, Kate, and Jane, provided harrowing testimony about years of abuse. 8. Maxwell was ultimately convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison, and the Supreme Court rejected her appeal. 9. In February 2026, Maxwell refused to testify before Congress and is seeking a pardon from Trump. The pattern we saw in this episode was a pattern of access and protection. Through Maxwell, Epstein gained access to princes and presidents. And this access protected him from prosecution for years. The main question is this: were these people unaware of Epstein's crimes? Or did they turn a blind eye? Does visiting his island, flying on his plane, and being friends with him constitute complicity? The answer is not clear. But one thing is certain. If the world's powerful people hadn't wanted to associate with Epstein, his network would never have expanded this far. They gave him legitimacy. And this legitimacy came at a cost to the victims. In the next episode, we go to Epstein's Island, Little St. James Island, the place that became known as Pedophile Island. Who went there? What happened there? And why was its demolition after Epstein's death carried out so hastily? We'll also look at new documents that have revealed more names. Names that might surprise you. Until the next episode, I invite you to think about this. What is the responsibility of those who knew and remained silent? Our duty as human beings is not to forget, to question, to follow up. Thank you for being with us so far. The third episode will be released soon. And this is the end of the second episode of the documentary series, The Epstein Files, Roots of a Nightmare. In this episode, we got to know Ghislaine Maxwell, examined her relationship with Prince Andrew, addressed the allegations against Bill Clinton, and heard the voices of the first victims who dared to come forward. And remember, this case is not closed yet. New documents are released every week. New facts are revealed every month. Until the next episode, stay healthy and seek the truth.